Hi everybody, and welcome to another edition in our Thriving Blind series of learning to set extraordinary expectations. And that really is what I had to learn to do as a mom of 2 out of 3 kids of mine are blind, and I had to learn to, in order to not just survive but to thrive. No one's really holding high expectations for blind people, and I had to surpass high expectations and go into extraordinary expectations, and it's actually carried over into lots of parts of my life. So today's story is for all of you soccer fans out there, whether you played or your kids play, or you're one of those screaming, raging soccer moms on the sideline or watching the major leagues, for all of you soccer fans. So full disclosure, I am soccer nut through and through. I found the soccer field when I was very young and loved living there for as long as I possibly could. I still get out there once a year with my high school and college friends, and it's not pretty, but we get out there. And I am a soccer nut mom. I love screaming on the sidelines and hanging out with the other soccer moms. But anyway, so blind kids in soccer, I figured it was never going to happen for my guys. I had to give that up for my boys, the dream of that. And, luckily my daughter is sighted and she had an interest in soccer, so I was channeling my soccer love through her. However, Mitchell, my now 14-year-old, back when he was 4 or 5, he wanted to play in the local little Pee-wee league, and my daughter was playing, and I got him involved and helped the coach, and it was cute. It was that whole beehive age where they're all running together, and Mitchell he had a fraction of vision that he could use, and he did pretty well with it, and he enjoyed it. And then a couple of years later, his friends, when he was 8, he got wind of an indoor league in our town. I still don't know how that happened, but he got wind of this indoor league. They must have been talking about it at recess or something, and he decided he wanted in. And really, the only way pretty much that he was going to get some playing time and I was going to be able to help manage how that was going to go is I signed up to coach, right? So, and I had this incredible assistant coach. We had a great time with these kids. But this is when I learned that Mitchell really had blindness in the background. Like, he just did not get that the rest of the world looked at his life as extremely limited, and they looked at him as incredibly different from everybody else. He had no idea of the bias, and this is just such a wonderful example of how kids are so innocently going about things in the world, and we tend to be the ones to screw them up, right? Okay, so we were on, I forget the name of our team. We were the green team. And boy, I was coaching the girls outside, and then I go to this indoor boys league, and it was intense. I mean, they were 8, and they were the most intense group of kids. There was the girls league, they weren't keeping score. Everybody was happy. There were snacks and juice boxes, right? And then you get into this indoor thing with these boys, and the scoreboard is this giant scoreboard, and I mean, it was like death match every week, and there were trophies at the end that were hanging in the balance, right? So it turns out, as I was trying to figure out what would be the best fit for Mitch, and we rotated the kids. I mean, they were 8, right? So we rotated them in all the different positions and figured it all out. Well, Mitchell naturally gravitated to, wait for it, goalie. If you know my Mitchell, he is so hard-headed, type A, control freak, right? So he went, of course he'd be a goalie. I had a blind goalie. It doesn't make any sense, right? So I had asked Mitch, I was watching him, and nobody could believe that he was stopping balls left and right. It was unbelievable. Matter of fact, one of the dads from the team sent me a video, a DVD of highlights of Mitch in goal throughout the season. It just sounds crazy, right? I asked Mitch one time, I'm like, okay, you got to explain this to me. I know you don't see that ball until it's right up on you, if you see it at all. Like, how are you stopping some of those shots? So his thing was, remember, it's an indoor league, so I should have mentioned it was an indoor hard surface. So, he says that gave him an advantage because he could hear the feet. And he said where he could hear the shoes on the hard surface, and where he would hear a lot of feet together, he assumed that that's where the ball was. Now, that was pretty smart. They were only 8, so a lot of them were still clumping up, much to a coach's nightmare. They were all still bunching up, right? So he would listen, and he would know what side of the goal to line himself up on. Then he could, most times, if the ball wasn't in the air, if it was on the ground, he could hear it skidding, and he would orient himself. And then at the last minute, many times he could see it. Mitch has like a little crescent right here in the peripheral of vision that he could catch it. He'd turn his head and he could catch the ball in his line of vision and dive at the last second and save it, right? So that is an extraordinary story in itself. But that's not actually the point of my story today. The point of my story, with the whole thing with Mitch not understanding everybody else's bias, he found out that there was a glitch in the t-shirts. I mean, these are like $2 Township League t-shirts, right? They have the name of the club on the front and a number on the back. And most kids, it's all they care about is that's their, they officially have a uniform, right? So halfway through the season, Mitchell finds out that there was a glitch and there's 2 number 12s on the team, him and another guy. So remember, he's the only blind kid on the team, in the league, and in the town playing soccer. So he is so annoyed one day at the game. I'm like, what's your problem? He goes, there's 2 number 12s. I have the same number as somebody else. That's not fair. And I'm like, who cares? Who cares? It's not like, the ref needs to know whose number belongs to whose. You're on a team. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. He said, yes, it is. So he was carrying on and carrying on. I finally said, what is the big deal? And he goes, I want people to know that it's me out here, that it's Mitchell number 12. I don't want them thinking I'm somebody else because I'm Mitchell. I've come to appreciate Mitchell's, he believes that he's the most important person in the world, right? And his confidence is so sky high, we can back off on confidence training. So anyway, he was so frustrated and upset that he wanted everyone to know that he was Mitchell number 12, not the other guy. But here's the funny part. I almost snort laughed there. The other guy, now Mitch is very small for his age. Look, when you live on hot dogs and waffles, you're not going to grow that much. So he's very small for his age. He was the smallest on that team. The other guy that was number 12 was head and shoulders above and the tallest on the team, Elijah. Mitch, in the dead of winter, is one of the palest kids on the team. Elijah, being African American, was the darkest on the team. I mean, they could not have been more opposite. And Mitchell was losing his mind that people were going to confuse the 2 number 12s. And I remember my parents were at that game, and my dad looked at me and he said, wow, he really doesn't see much at all. That he had no idea that Elijah looked so different from him. So I described Elijah to Mitch, and I said, Mitch, I really don't think anyone's going to have a problem telling the difference between the 2 of you. We're safe with having 2 number 12s. It still cracks me up to this day. I mean, not only was my blind kid a star goalie, but he really did not get, the difference in him and another kid, because he didn't see well enough to see the difference. And he really wanted to be known as himself as the only number 12 and didn't want people confused. So what is the extraordinary expectation in that? Look, if you can open your mind to kids and even yourself getting involved in something that might not be a typical thing for your ability or your child's ability. I mean, a blind soccer goalie, come on. But Mitchell made it work. And when you really have all the experiences and the tools and the resources and build their confidence, their challenges really do fall in the background, and they don't see themselves as any different, that they can't get out there and accomplish great things. So for all of you that are involved in soccer right now, have a great season. For all of you soccer moms and dads on the sidelines, remember, we are just cheering them on and telling them, have you seen that TED Talk? I love to watch you play. We don't yell at refs and all of that. I'll just bite my tongue on that one. And have a great season. And tune in next time for our next video in our Thriving Blind series of learning to see, set extraordinary expectations.